All right, today we're going to jump into a story that's got everything. Decades of friendship, high-stakes geopolitics, and a really controversial arms deal that sent some serious shockwaves through the region. So let's get right into it. So it all kicked off with this one really provocative question. Reports started flying around that seemed to suggest that India's longtime steadfast ally Russia was suddenly providing critical military tech to its biggest regional rival, Pakistan. But is that what was really going on? Okay, so to really get what happened, we have to start at the beginning. We need to unpack the initial reports that lit the match on this whole geopolitical firestorm. And look, the claim wasn't vague at all. It was super specific. The reports alleged that Moscow was all set to directly sell these really powerful RD-93 MA engines to Islamabad. And these engines, well, they're basically the heart of Pakistan's JF-17 fighter jets. So you can imagine, for a lot of people, especially in India, this was a massive red flag. But here's the thing. Almost as soon as these reports hit the headlines, Moscow came out with a really strong, very direct denial. And the way they worded it, well, that was pretty telling. And wow, the language they used, it really tells you something. A top Russian source didn't just deny the story. Nope. They completely shot it down, calling the whole idea illogical and not credible. This wasn't some soft diplomatic denial. This was a forceful, almost dismissive pushback. And they didn't stop there. They laid out their position with three super clear points. First, they said flat out, there is no confirmation of any deal like this. Second, they made a point to reassure India, saying their current work with Pakistan is nothing that should make them uncomfortable. And finally, and this is key, they basically suggested this whole thing was a deliberate plant, an attempt to damage the relationship between Moscow and New Delhi, especially with big meetings on the horizon. Okay, so if Russia says they're not selling these engines directly to Pakistan, how on earth do they end up in Pakistani jets? Well, this is where the story gets a little more complex, and it all comes down to a crucial middleman. This is how it actually works, and honestly, it's not some new secret. Step 1, Russia builds the engine. Step 2, China, a major Russian partner, buys that engine directly from them. Then, step 3, China takes that Russian-made engine and puts it into the JF-17 fighter jet, which, by the way, it developed with Pakistan. So the Russian tech does get there, but, and this is the crucial part, it's routed through Beijing. It's not a direct Moscow to Islamabad deal. I know, this whole dust-up over the engines, it really just pulls back the curtain on a much bigger story. The entire defense landscape in the region is changing, and it's changing fast. So let's look at the hard numbers from SIPRI, the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. First up, let's look at Pakistan. Their arms imports have just exploded, surging by a massive 61% in just the last few years. Why? They're on a major push to get new fighter jets and warships, and it's made them the 5th largest arms importer on the planet. So where is all this hardware coming from? Well, you can see it right here. It's overwhelmingly from China. I mean, a staggering 81% of Pakistan's major weapons come from Beijing. That really tells you that the story here is the China-Pakistan axis, not some new, budding Russia-Pakistan alliance. So that's the picture for Pakistan. But what's happening on the other side of the coin? Well, for decades, Russia was, without a doubt, India's #1 arms supplier. But as the data clearly shows, that's just not the case anymore. I mean, just look at this timeline. It tells you everything you need to know. Just a decade ago, Russia made up 72% of India's arms imports. Then it dropped to 55%. And today, it's down to just 36%. That is a huge and incredibly rapid shift. So what's going on here? Why the big change? Well, it really boils down to a few key things. First, India is all in on its Make in India initiative, trying to build its own defense industry. At the same time, it's making a very strategic choice to diversify, to not put all its eggs in one basket. And that means buying more from countries like France, Israel, and the United States. But even with all these changes, these shifting trade winds, both New Delhi and Moscow are making it really clear, very publicly, that they're committed to their historic partnership. They're emphasizing that this friendship is about way more than just buying and selling weapons. And you don't have to guess at it either. You can see it right in President Vladimir Putin's own words. Just before an upcoming visit to India, he went out of his way to call Prime Minister Modi a friend and a reliable partner. That's the kind of language you use when you want to send a clear signal. Despite the numbers, the core relationship is still solid. So here's the big takeaway.
right? The whole controversy about the jet engines, it was a bit of a red herring. It got debunked pretty fast. But what it did was accidentally shine a light on a much deeper truth. The global arms map is being completely redrawn, and it's forcing old friends, old allies, to figure out how to navigate this new, much more complicated world. And that leaves us with the big question: how will this old friendship adapt?